Today I'm going to talk a little bit about placing beads with knitting and some of the equipment that's required in order to do so. The first thing we need are beads. I like to use 6/0 size beads. These are my Yuki, or however it's pronounced. And I like these for fingering weight, for heavier lace weights. For a lighter lace weight, you might want to use an 8/0. But this is my go-to bead, this size 6/0. After beads, we need to have some way to put them onto the knitting. So we have a few different options. One is dental floss, and I will show you how to do that in a few minutes. The other is something called a Fleegle Beader, which actually is a little tiny hook on the end and holds the beads here. And the final method is a crochet hook, a very small crochet hook. The other thing that I like to use is something to hold my beads. I tend to like to use a bead board. Here's basically a bead board where I can put the beads inside this little area here, and they contain the beads from flying away. Also, it's a handy place to put them when I need to be picking up beads. Also has a good little place to put my crochet hook or my Fleegle Beader or whatever it is I'm using at the moment. If you don't have one of these, you could always use a tray. I would recommend, if you use a tray, that you use something like a little soft cloth or something to hold the beads. The beads make a great deal of racket when they crash to the floor, if you have a wood floor, but they hide away in carpeting, and you only find them when you start vacuuming. It makes that lovely rackety sound that you've discovered beads. To get a bead ready to use, it's pretty easy with a crochet hook. All you basically do is just pick up the bead and it's ready to go, and it's one bead at a time. To use a Fleegle Beader, one of the advantages is that you can put a lot of beads on there, and the way it works is you just slide off these little rubber tabs and you have a kind of sharp little end, and you basically just pick up the beads, and as many as you want or need, and then slide that rubber back on there, and you can put that up as high as you need it to be so you can have your beads close to the other end, because the other end is where we have our small little hook that we will use to grab the yarn. For the dental floss method, there's a couple different sections of this dental floss. So one is this very stiff section right here. There's also this kind of fuzzy section here, which is great for keeping the beads from escaping. And then there's this long, thin section. I used to like to use knots and that sort of thing, but I have started using this little, I think it's called a Wonder Clip by Clover. I did get this on Amazon. You probably could get it at Joann's or some of the other big box stores. It's made by Clover, and this is great because when you have these beads on here, you can move the clip up to get your beads closer to the end that you need to be using. So to get them on there, you have this stiff end. I mean, you could always start here using this little stiff end and sticking your beads on. Another way to do it, and this would work for stringing beads onto yarn as well, is to use this dental floss feeder, and I will have all of the name brands of everything on my blog, but basically what you can do with this is kind of neat. This is a nice stiff cord, so you can pick things up pretty quickly. And then what I do is I get a number of beads on there, and I loop this thread through the hole, fold it in half, and just slide the beads on there, and that gets them onto the thread pretty quickly. So what's going to happen when we bead is we want the beads to be up close to this end where it's fuzzy, and then we'll actually bead from the stiffer end here. So we can fill this whole thing up with beads, and then as we go, if we have one of these little clips, we can just kind of move that clip up to get the beads closer to the top and have them where we need them as we're beading. So that's how we feed beads. The other thing that some people use is a bead spinner. I actually have one. I've never been able to get it to work properly. So this is the methods that I stick with because they work for me. But some people swear by the bead spinner, so you might want to check that out and see if that works for you.